All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Fett263. No helmet for those of you who saw the thumbnail. I was only using it for the thumbnail. But this is my first episode live of going to be fun with Saber Effects for Proffieboard. And those of you who picked up on the Sheldon Cooper uh, little jab, that was intentional. So a few of you picked up on that. But I wanted to do this. I have to thank, obviously, Space Windu for having me on his show. It kind of gave me the idea that this, you could actually do a live thing, but also show computer screens. So I'm using some of what he's done in his. And then, of course, Megtooth, who actually got me into Profi. So I want to thank both of them for I'm following in their footsteps. They kind of led the way. For what I'm going to try to do here. So, and what I want to do is really talk about some styles, the style library, a little bit about Proffieboard, just for those who are interested, and then hopefully answer some questions. I did want to announce that we have put up the new Accent PCB, Accent LED PCB library, along with a few other changes. So I want to show that stuff. And then if you have questions, of course, put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to try to answer them. And then time willing, I have kind of one little thing I'm working on that I wanted to show everybody who came to check this out live. Let's see. And bear with me, first time going live, but also first time using this, the tools here. So hopefully it goes off without a hitch. So that's that. Let's see. So we'll go here first. All right, so hey everyone, and I'll try to keep up with the chat as best I can. So hi everyone, thanks for joining. All right, so first and foremost, a few requests have come in for kind of a, actually, I'm going to read the chat after because I'm taking my train of thought as I'm doing this, so learn as you go. All right, so I've added an index page to my style library for a couple reasons. Some people wanted to have a good location to come for more than just the styles. So I put this together. Right now it's kind of bare bones. I'll have to spruce it up. But there's a new index page. It'll be linked at the top of any of the library pages. And it just has some, links that I get asked about typically. So of course you've got the style, my channel. Right now, I've got the 4.5. I'm also keeping the 3.3, 3.9 styles. They still work in the current OS and they will work in future OSs for those who prefer that style format. So they're there. But the CC fork, I moved that down. And the reason being, Matt SA22C, it's so old now, it's not going to get updated. The color change fork was great. Big thanks to Matt for helped me do that at the time. I had this kind of idea that Frederick did a ton to help me get off the ground with color change, getting it added to Proffi, but I had no idea how GitHub worked. I had no idea what forks, how to do forks. And Matt was just kind enough to really kind of take me under his wing and help me get that interchange or get that added to his fork. And then we bounced a lot of ideas off of each other, really built that up, came up with some good stuff. And then, Frederick ended up taking some of that stuff. He took a lot of it and actually just improved it tenfold, but that kind of laid the groundwork. So the fork was great. It kind of led to a lot of other things, but the fork, the support for it is essentially ending. So I used to have the link along the top for it. I'm moving it just to this index page because I do get questions. People have kind of found their way into that, and they go to use those styles on the main OS. They've never worked on the main OS. And a few of the features just didn't carry over. And now with the big change from OS 4, it just didn't make sense to have that there. So if you are on the fork, if you're sticking with the fork, if you like the fork, great. This home page, this index page at the bottom is where I have that linked. So if you're unable to find it, that's where I put it. Everything's still there. I just, for people, particularly people as they're coming in, first-time users, I do still once in a while get peppered with questions, and I ask them to send me their styles, and then I see it and I'm like, that's a color change fork, and it's kind of old. So rather than do that, I've moved that. And then also I know Jesse Kirkbride, Kyberphonics, He likes to link to my styles, but he's worried about future updates when the new OS comes out. So this will be a page that you can use too, Jesse. I don't know if you're on. So I'll add this link. But so this is going to be growing and changing, and hopefully get more content in here. And then lastly, I do my build threads on TRA. I am not, I'm a DIYer. I do my installs, but I like to document them. I'm kind of old school that way with forums. I started, a lot of you know, I'm in the 501st. I've been there forever. And one of the ways that a lot of information gets shared is, it used to be through forums. So over time, it's obviously changed in Facebook groups and other places, but I'm still kind of used to forums just as a way to document stuff. So I have all my builds here. For those of you who are looking for information, particularly the TRS helmet gets a lot of requests, and then also obviously the new crossguard, my old crossguards. So I'm going to link all of those build threads here just to make it easy. So got that out of the way. Let's get to the new accent library. So in the style library, and I mentioned this in the little sneak peek I gave last week, the accents are, they're kind of unique in what you can do everything with them, but the way that you would build them is a little different than how you build a normal blade, at least my approach to them. And because of that, the interface is going to look similar, but it's a little bit different. So instead of having like how the library works, where you usually get a main style and then you go and you choose your style code and then you can do your customize enhance after the fact, for the accents, because you're kind of building it all at one time, I've put it as its own thing. It's going to be, there's a few ways you can get to it. I'll have the individual link available, but if you filter, you can now filter for accent LEDs, and then it's just its own section. It's also at the very bottom of the page, so you can also just scroll. And then with this one, this will be similar to the dual phase saber build style builder or the split blade style builder, in that you're going to build everything here, but there is no enhanced screen. Everything will just be here. Part of it is just how I've designed the library to run, but part of it is just to kind of keep it all all in one place. So I did show a lot of the styles already, but I have my demo rig ready. Actually, I'll get that going. I'm going to run through some of this stuff. I haven't put the descriptions of everything in yet, but I wanted to get this out because I know some people already have some ideas on how to use it. Ooh, something shorted. That's not good. Something's hidden. I guess that's the fun of life, huh? I shorted something out. I won't be showing that demo rig. That's a shame. Well, you learn. All right, so I'll go through it this way then. So I have all of the options available here. And the typical one you're going to choose, these are the off behaviors. So you'll be able to choose solid color, which is pretty standard. The Luke, this is the 9 blinks for the green arrow, the 5 blinks for the red arrow. Slow turbine, fast turbine. Then the slow run forward. So let's start with the turbine because that's a popular one. You'll choose your color. I've added white as an option. And then let's go to, I have added the run type. You can do continuous, which means it's always on for your blade, except for if you use idle time off, or you can use timed. And timed will be based off of when you boot up, when you change fonts, or when you retract the blade. So when the time runs out, it's going to default to 30 seconds. If you've booted up your board and you've left it alone for 30 seconds, it'll end up being timing out. It won't turn itself back on until you either ignite and retract the blade, change your font, or repower the board. So you can choose timed. I'm going to go for continuous for now. You can choose your transitions. I'm going to add more transitions. So what I'm finding, and it is a damn shame, I should have, I probably rested this on itself somewhere. Yeah, that's definitely, definitely let the smoke out. All right, but in testing on just 5 pixels or less, some of these transitions don't look great, so that's why it's starting with just this group here. This will add over time. And then I have added power up effects and cooldown effects. Again, kind of a small list to start with. Again, they didn't look always the same, so I wanted to give you guys a start point. and that was going to be in the demo, but we'll show it anyway through the, let's do unstable, and then I've got slow turbine, we'll go to fast turbine. Let's go, we'll change it to gold when it's live, and then we'll leave instant for both of these, cool down unstable. And then, as I have noted, these options will be growing over time. This is the start point. And then this will have to be our demo, since I killed my demo rig. So you can go into Style Editor, and then within Style Editor, this is now the behavior when it's off. So that's the slow turbine effect. Now when I power up, when you hit ignite on your Saber, your accent LEDs will now, this will have a power up effect of unstable white, and then it will go into the fast turbine. The two turbines, if you pair them up, they actually have a speed up effect too. So there was a power up, there's a speed up. It is also changing from green to gold. And then there's your fast turbine. And then when we power down, unstable cool down, and then it'll slow down to the green. So you can go in through the library, use the check-in editor, and then from in there you'll be able to do your not only previews, but you'll also be able to go in and edit stuff. So if say that, in particular certain colors people have their own preferences, you can go in and you can do all your editing in here. So say I wanted to go to a spring green, and then you'll see what that color and effect looks like. And then you'll also be able to show your change up your timings. So your timings are going to be in here. So you have transitions. Let's see. So we want in and out. This is the speed. Rotation speed is here. So let's change the speed up on this one. And this keyboard not working. I wonder if this preview doesn't let me, oh, there it is. I get a little delay. There it is. So that'll be the speed up. And all right, let me take a minute out. I got to catch up with this chat. So, hey everyone, let's see. Brian, thanks for joining. Kenny, Chet, Justin, Monkey. Actually, probably shouldn't read all these. I'm terrible. But hey, Space, thanks for joining. Darth Krupa. All right, let's get back into this. So I'm going to go back into the library, and then let's take a peek at some of these other ones. Let's go with this here, and then I will show how the timed works. And let's add a transition. And let's find, go to a split bar graph. So there's a lot of bar graph options in there because that's what I see a lot of. And again, really wish I didn't kill the demo rig. If you take your string of pixels, as you can see here, and actually curve them across, you'll get a really nice effect on these, even with the bar graphs. So we will we'll leave you as continuous. Let's do a wipe on that. We'll leave here. And then I'll leave all those for now. We can see what this looks like. So if you have the timed on the off behavior, the editor will stay off. What you want to do to see what it's going to look like is hit either boot or new font. So if I hit boot, that will activate it, because what it is, the timed ones for when off, they're actually using transition effects to do that. And the transitions that trigger them are boot, which happens when you add power to the board. It's also going to be new font, which is just when you change your font either forward or backward, or retraction. And those are basically how it knows to turn on the effect. So if you, as I said earlier, if you have the timed effects for off and you have your Saber turned on, it boots up, time runs out, and you just leave it sitting and you come back to it, it's not going to turn on. And same thing with idle time off. If you've run past the time that stuff's going to turn off, the Saber needs something to happen to it. So changing fonts, igniting or retracting, and then having the or booting it back up will get you to trigger. And then so if I hit new font, I'll get my effect. And again, they're all going to default, as I said in the intro, the off behaviors if you use timed and the on behaviors if you use timed. They're defaulted to 30. 30 seconds or 30,000 milliseconds, and that should be down here. And where'd you go? Right in here. And right here is you'll look for your TR delays. That's what is doing the timing function. So it's a transition effect, and one of the transitions is a TR delay for 30,000 milliseconds. So if you wanted to extend it, if you wanted to be a full minute, you could do 60,000 milliseconds, etc. But you would be able to edit that just in here. And let's go turn it on now. And that's the split bar graph, which starts at the center and then expands out in both directions. And then when I turn this off now, that transition effect that's going to do the timed off behavior will now be the retraction. So when I hit retract, it'll go back into the kit style, Knight Rider style. So, hey, Justin. Thanks. Yeah, Frederick gets more credit. I'm good at playing with what he's created, but I'm always happy when people get the enjoy the styles and have fun with the stuff. That's what makes this the hobby's great, but to me that's what just makes Proffieboard and open source so great, is that the community as a whole is able to share, come up with ideas, and kind of work together. There's a lot of people in there. I know there's other people already playing with other stuff, but Frederick made it all possible. So everything starts and ends with Frederick. So he obviously created it, he thought of it, but how he thinks and how he's kind of designed this made all this stuff possible. So I get to kind of be like I think of it like being an artist, and he's given me the tools to be able to paint some of this stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And so that's going to be the accent LED library. And you can use these styles for blades. I know some people, particularly like the kit scanner and some other things, these will work fine for blades. And you can take parts of the stuff and apply it elsewhere. And actually, I'll try to show that, kind of a little shortcut for that. But I wanted to give a few minutes for some questions if there's any. So if anybody has any specific questions, you can throw them in the chat. I'll keep an eye. And then if not, I'll show you a few kind of tips and tricks and stuff. And then I did have something to show. Unfortunately, for those of you who are joining late, I somehow managed to sit my board because it wasn't fastened down, and it got a short, and I killed it. I'm going to see if I can salvage it later, but it definitely, there's the smokes from underneath. I may not have killed it, but it's not running right now. So I can't do part of what I was hoping to show you all. So I guess that's part of the difficulty of going live that you can't predict. So no questions unless there's just a lag on the questions. Nope. All right, let's go. I'm going to show you guys, particularly so let's start with this. So say there's a piece of one of these styles, and this could be any of the styles in the library, and you want to take a certain piece and you wanted to just use it on something that you've already built or something you have from a previous OS or a style that you're using now. Going into the editor is the easiest thing. So the kit scanner, we'll use that because I saw Space Lake's Knight Rider style. Let's go in here. And how the library kicks stuff over is one long string. If you click, and this is also in the crash course videos, if you click over here on layers, it'll break it out. And what you're looking for is going to be the off behavior I chose. So if you go back here, the off behavior is first on accent LEDs because they usually start off. And that's where I chose the kit scanner. So what I'm looking for here, the off behavior is always going to be after this in-out TRL, and the crash course does a better job of breaking this out. But this in-out TRL is essentially and just going way back. So layers, the first layer you have, the bottom layer, is what your base blade is. And now for what you'll notice on the accent LEDs is going to be that they are mostly transitions, and that's because they're doing a lot of stuff. So transitions, in particular for ProffiOS, they're essentially just like animation tools is how I think of them, and they let you do a lot of different things. So you do have like your base, your audio flickers, your brown noise flickers, all those other things, gradients, etc. But if you really want to take those and animate them, the transitions, both transition effect and transition loop, which is running here, are how you get that animation. So your base layer is essentially what's happening when the blade is on, and then what's happening to keep the blade off in layers is this in-out TRL. There's also an in-out helper L, which L just means layer. That's what you're going to look for. That's essentially your dividing line for what's happening when the blade is on versus when it's off. Wherever that layer takes effect, everything below that layer is going to be visible when the blade is off, and everything above that layer is going to be visible when the blade is on. So it's kind of like if you inserted something to black out everything underneath. That's what the in-out layers do. So when you're looking for an off behavior, it's going to be under in-out TRL, and then these are all broken out to do a lot of different things. And as I said, actually I have the timed one on, so this one makes it a little trickier. You'll see the exact same thing in 3 spots, and one's on retraction, one's on new font, and one's on boot. That's what gives the timing effect. So if I chose, let me undo it just continuous, because the continuous is actually simpler code. So it'll be easier to show that. Oops, I missed something. There we go. This will be easier to show you. So here's my in-out TRL. So then this transition effect layer here is what's happening. Oh no, that's the retraction. This is the, right here is going to be our, actually let's do it with the side, it's easier. So we're going to scroll towards the bottom. We're going to see off behavior right here. Color when off is this mix. So this is going to be that Knight Rider style. So you can pull this now. So let's get a hold of this. Copy this. Now let's go just grab a regular style. Actually, filter on. Let's go to specialty. Let's go blank blade. Where are you? Oh, you're not specialty, you're demo. Blank blade. Let's check this out. So now I've got, and I didn't choose all the options, but you've got right here, we're going to go here. So the blank blade, which is under the demo section, gives you the ability to add all the other effects except for the base layer. So what you can do then is this black is your base layer. I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to paste the Knight Rider layer that I just grabbed from the accent. You have to hit submit. If you don't hit submit, it won't go in. And now, when I power my blade on, I will get my Knight Rider blade style. So you can take those pieces from different locations, particularly the accent LEDs, because the accent LEDs just have a lot of different unique animations. If you want to grab those and use them for your main blade, just as kind of a cool effect, you can. You can also just build the style out and put it into your config. It'll work the same. But if you wanted everything else on the blade to work the same, that's kind of a quick and easy way to grab a hold of it and do that. So let's see. Hey, everyone who's joined us. Let's see. Timeout setting for your crystal chamber style. There is, but it's new. So Rodney, there is. Let me show you that. And if anybody has any other questions, dual color turbine. I missed that question. Let me, yeah, we can look at that too. All right, so let's close this up. I'm going to take this filters off because it messes with me. All right. So let's go to an easy crystal chamber. So if you have crystal chamber code from a few, I forget when I made the update, but I've changed the crystal chambers. But yes, you can put an off, you can have it time itself out. So for off behavior now, under type, you can put timed, and it'll be the same thing. So you can do timed, and this is answering Rodney. You can do timed for just boot and new font. What that will mean is that the timer will run when you first boot up, and when you change fonts. All of the times when that timer runs out, it'll stay off. The one that works the best for everything though is the timed boot, new font, and retraction. And then again, I default everything to 30 seconds or 30,000 milliseconds. You can up that time here. And then by doing that, this will now generate a crystal chamber that has a timer built into it. And again, in the OS, if you do the idle time off in your config, you can also just set a kind of a blanket timer, and that's for everything. What I did here using, again, the transition effects with this TR delay to create this is it lets you have some style. You can define by style if you want it to be timed or continuous. So continuous as the option under the crystal chamber will just always be on unless you have idle time off. And then if you choose any of these, so boot and new font, or retraction only, or all three, which is the one that kind of does the most, you can choose that option and then set your timer, and then that'll do it. And what that code looks like is going to be, so if I hit boot, it'll have the pulse. I didn't choose options, so you could choose your options, but it'll go, and that'll run for 30 seconds. And then it'll time out, and then it will stay off until you ignite and retract, until you boot up again, or until you change the font. And again, I'm going to keep harping on the fact that I killed my rig. For those of you who want to do accents that have the code just like the crystal chamber, you can do that too. So the accent LED section that I introed earlier is really just for effects that are a little different from main blade. A lot of people do like to have their accent LEDs, particularly if you have like windows on your hilt or something, run like the main blade. The two options that I would say are best are going to be your crystal chamber code, because that has the off behavior, and or you could do the side blade code, but that doesn't naturally have off behavior. But again, you can also grab all the pieces. So everything in the library is meant to be it's meant to be kind of a starting point for everybody. I do try to build the styles so that they're complete, so you don't have to do it. But if you want to take pieces of stuff that you like from certain things and mix and match them, or just take it as a starting point and then go in and play around, that's kind of the idea behind it. And then I did see another question, and bear with me, I'm all over the place because this is my first time. I know some of the more seasoned guys are better at this. Keeping track of the chat actually seems to be a little harder for me than I thought it'd be. Dual color turbine, that was the other one. Yes, we would have to edit something. I can, in the future, look at adding it. I'm thinking you're meaning like two colors on different ends, or a turbine that changes color. And that's Ken of the Hill, if you're still on. Sorry, it took me a little bit to get to your question. But let's go in. Again, the accent LED section now is going to be at the bottom of the library. And let's go grab the two turbines. Usually I go slow to fast. And you can, I don't know the specific, but you can have your on and off be different colors. That's for any of them. And if you have so let's actually make it really different. Both. Okay. All right. So let's look. I'm going to go from a blue slow turbine to a gold fast turbine. I'm going to turn off the power up effects just so you can really see it. The turbines, they look okay with the power up and cool down. The power up and cool down are new. Again, I was going to demo them. That's not going to happen right now. But I usually take them off in testing for the turbines, because the turbines have a transition built into them. They're using color cycle, so they will have the natural speed up. And let's just peek at this. So it's a blue off slow turbine. And again, you can edit, you can change all your speeds. Well, that's actually the on, off will be down here. But you can change your speeds. But now when I go to power up, it's going to change from that blue to a yellow fast. And then it will, again, go backwards when you turn it off, and it'll slow itself down, and it'll transition itself back to the blue. Now, if you wanted it to have colors, two colors, say, at the other ends of it, there's actually a few ways we can do it, but let's play with it while it's on. So right now, the on color is here. And we have a rotate color. So you can, let's swap this out for a gradient. So if you're not familiar with using the editor, the the crash course videos that I have on my channel will help with this, because I'm just going to breeze through it as if everybody's familiar. If you're not familiar with the controls, but you can click on any of the control, any section on the side and edit it individually. And let's see. So we're going to grab, this is the color for that rotate. I'm going to drop a gradient in there. And that's too many colors. You can also edit here. Let's do, actually we'll do green and yellow. Submit that. And then let's go take a peek at what that looks like when it's on. It's going to speed up to that section. Did it not take when I dropped in? It didn't take when must not have hit submit. Gradient. Submit. Good. There it is. Okay. So now you're getting, it's going pretty quick, but this end is green, this end is yellow. So if you wanted to get the two colors in it, you can. Gradients is probably the easiest way. There's a few other ways you can do it. Now we can also do, if you wanted to have the colors change, there's a couple ways to do that. So if we wanted to say, let's stick in this realm, we'll go, instead of a gradient, which is one, basically this is what the gradient looks like, it's just cycling over it. If you want to have the color change, you can do a number of ways. One of the easier ones is the color sequence. And color sequence has a time in it, so let's extend this out. Submit, and then let's do, we'll stick with green and yellow. And I'm going to pull the blue away. Let's submit. And what will happen now is that on cycle, as long as I hit submit, we'll be changing yellow and green. And you can, the nice thing about color cycle is you can list out just as many colors as you want, and it just goes through them at that timing factor. So you can do a lot of that. That's probably one of the easy ones. Now, if you wanted to go with what I call the omnicolor, which is every color, there's a way to do that too. I'll show it here. So if we go to rotate colors, and we have, let's put green in, and then we've got the sign. And if we change that, actually 10 is good, we'll leave the sign in there. Now what'll happen is when it's on, that rotate is going to rotate through all of the colors possible. And what rotate colors is it is the color wheel, but if you put a sign function in it, it's going to just always, based on that, the revolutions per minute, it's going to keep cycling through all the colors. So a lot of different ways you can do that. So I think this was, losing track. Kenneth Hill, I think this was your question. So yes, there's a lot of ways to do different colors in these, in the turbines or in any of the effects. And let's see, any other questions? So hello, hi Bobby, thanks for joining. Let's see, any others? Any other questions on basically any of the styles, effects, style library? Otherwise, I do have something I'll show you guys. Maybe we'll chat about that a little bit. Cool. Let's see. Sometimes we need int and sometimes not. I'm sorry, pronunciation on name. That's a very good question. Certain styles, so particularly with the introduction of layers, certain styles take functions and certain styles take numerical values. So a lot of the, and actually, let me show you. I'm going to I have so many windows open actually. Let me close some of this up and then I'll kind of hopefully be able to explain it. All right, let's go one window of editor. Let's go now. If you're in, that's not a good one. So brown noise flicker, and this is for Che. I'm terrible at pronunciation, so I apologize ahead of time. the old styles, so this section here, styles, these are the older format styles. They use numerical values in almost all instances. And what it is this value is the style itself is actually handling the fact that it should be a function for you. So you don't have to put that int in. When we changed over to layers, and also when the responsive effects came in for OS4, we needed to, instead of just dropping a static numeric value like 50, in order to be able to drop any value you want, including variables, Frederick created the function version. So now the function versions are what control the layers. So this is brown noise flicker. It's a green. Actually, green and magenta is what is the default. It bothers me, my eyes. So I'm going to put in green and a little blue. So your brown noise flicker or any other normal style from this styles tab, these almost always use numeric values. There are the X versions, so and rotate colors X is one of them. If there's an X in the name, that means that it's the template of that style that takes a function instead of a number. And then almost all layers now take functions, and that it's twofold. It made it easier in some ways for Frederick and also for just being able to do stuff. But then with the responsive controls, essentially all the responsive controls are in OS4 is they're variables, and they're variables that get data from different pieces of the board. And the only way they would work is if you could put the variable into a style. If you couldn't put the variable in the style, it wouldn't matter because there's no way to translate those. So going off on tangents, but the difference is the styles themselves. If you actually go into the code, it's going to these will have the template will actually contain the int. If you go into the layers version, you'll see the L at the end, or you'll also see the function versions which have the X's at the end. Those take a function, which means the int function, int, just means it's a static numeric value, whereas you have all these other functions that are not static, they're actually variable. So if we look at brown noise flicker L, what it's doing, this is essentially the same thing. Let's go put this as green. It's the same as the style, but the layer version only has a single color, so this lays on top of something else. So when that is off, whatever's underneath it, in this case black, is going to show through. This int 50, it's just the static value of 50, but it all ties back to both the layers and then also being able to do the responsive stuff and the other functions. So that's essentially the reason for it. So anything that you see with the int or any other of the functions which are all listed in here, those are just in order to make more stuff happen. But they essentially do the same thing, because actually the brown noise flicker in this instance, that 50 value that you put in, through the template of the program, it's telling the OS that it's int 50. That's really all it's doing. Hopefully I explained that. I think I kind of made a really windy road getting there. Let's see, Justin, when you add a layer, what does it get added? If you add a layer through the library, I believe is going to be the question. So let's show that. I'm going to make one up quick because I type faster than I use the tool, except when I do typos. So all functions take ints. Is it cumbersome to manually add int? I guess I need more clarification. It either has to be int or a numerical value. They're not interchangeable. It depends upon the style itself. If you're getting errors in the style, I guess it would depend. I'm sorry, I'm going back to the other question on the compiling Arduino. If you're getting a compile error and the style was created in the library, just let Frederick know on TRA, because there could, this is technically the style editor is still in beta. It's been in beta for a long time. It's been pretty well tested, but there still could be small combinations of things that maybe are causing an error. I think something just got found. Blinking L, I think blinking might have been one of them. Maybe an issue. Yeah, it would be if the editor generated it and it doesn't compile, that means it's just something that has to be fixed in the editor. It's not something for Arduino to fix. You can add, so if it's telling you that it's looking for the int value, but the editor, let's take a peek. Let me take a peek at Blinking L actually. Blinking L. Come on. Why are you so slow now? Okay, Blinking L's not even working for me. Maybe there is definitely a bug in there. Let's see what happens if I put it in. We'll put it here. Two birds, one stone. Guessing it's not going to like these values, but let's put them in. Let's see if it's doing what I think it's doing. Yeah, all right, so it wants a function there. There we go. Oops, that's not, I'm thinking of strobe. I'm thinking of strobe. That's what that one is from. Oh, 500 there. That's way too quick for, yeah, I don't use blinking that often, I guess. I don't remember the template on that one. I'm pretty good with templates. There it is. So yes, if it wasn't working for me, let's see if it sees. But yes, the L, anything L, so blinking L or X needs to have functions in here. If you're getting the editor to kick out the style and it doesn't have it, I would say definitely just note it in TRA so Frederick can take a peek, and then I'm sure he would just fix it, because the layer versions and the X, which they're in here, but you have to click the expand button to see them. They use functions. Anything that's just regular, like blinking, uses just numbers. But so the second question was, Justin, if I add a layer, it's always going to stack layers on top, which means covering up. So if I add a layer here, I duplicated the layer. But let's do an alpha layer with smooth step. And that has a movement to it. So let's take the movements out. Let's go to int here. Don't know what this will end up looking like. Let's change you to more manageable. That's too small. So as you add layers, so if I'm not clicked on something and I add, I think it copies. It's going to add the same as the layer above it, and then you would edit it there. But it essentially it's stacking them down, which means that these overlay on top of everything. So if I put a layer like this in, so say I change this to straight, you wouldn't really do this, but if I just go straight full value and look at it, it's just this layer that I just added covers everything else. So the alpha layers are alpha being as if the alpha layer from like Photoshop or something for how transparent it is. If you go in 32768, that's full. That means full value, which means zero transparency, which means that anything below it is now covered. Let's see. So yeah, blinking L looks like it has. So if you take that line and compile in Arduino, it will result in error. Yeah, if you put blinking L white 200, 500, it'll be an error because the template for blinking L requires functions, and it doesn't know what to do with 200 and 500. It needs to know that the 200 and 500 value are the integers, which is what int means. So if it's giving you that error, the easy fix for you would be to just put the int and wrap it in, obviously inside of the brackets. But then getting it fixed would be also the better approach. So definitely put a note on TRA so Frederick would get that fixed. It wasn't actually working for me at all, too, which is just weird. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, it doesn't, the blinking L seems to be not working correctly right now, so there's something up with it, so it'll have to be addressed anyway. But so for Justin, adding layers, they will add them new layer basically at the bottom of the list, which means it's going to stack on top of all the layers above it. And then the blinking L looks like an error in editor that needs to be fixed. And then the fix for you, if you want to compile now, is to, change those numbers to integers, int bracket, and then your value, and it should go in. Cool. Any other questions I can help anybody with? Otherwise, I do want to show you guys kind of a sneak peek of something for everybody who decided to join in. So maybe I'll get that queued up, especially after the failure with my demo rig. Let's see. Sure, Justin. All right, one sec. This better behave or I'm going to be extremely disappointed. All right, so this is in progress currently, so it's not a finished effect. Falls in a cage. How did this happen? And I'm hoping that this behaves better than my test. You want me to put the hammer down? All right, so let's see, I gotta back up a little, I think, to get this on. All right, so what I've got here all right, so this is Kyberphonics store font. And it kind of gave me an idea for something that I'm working on. So this is just a blue blade. There's nothing on it. And hopefully you guys can hear me too, because I realize now I'm far from the camera. But now I've got a new effect I'm working on, and it'll be added to library when it's all done and tested out. I'm calling it Summon, and it's going to be Summon and Release. And the idea is I'm going to summon lightning to my hilt. So hopefully that show up. And then when I do, it builds a spark at the tip. I might have to turn the light off. I feel like the camera's not picking it up. Wait, one sec. Let's see if this looks better. All right, so I've got just a regular blue blade. I'm going to summon my lightning. Comes from the tip of the blade to the hilt, stays at the hilt. And now if I put my blade, where's the camera? There it is. Level. Oops. I can shoot the lightning back out. So it's actually a dual value stab that when your blade is up, it pulls the lightning from the sky. And when your blade is parallel or down, it shoots the lightning back out. So it's not done yet because I still got to get it perfected. But the idea is going to be based off of the Thor summoning lightning. And let me get it on camera for the full effect. So you get the strike of lightning coming down your blade, and then when you put your blade level, you'll get this lightning shooting back out. And this is a timed effect at the hilt. So this will be called Summon and Release. It'll be a brand new effect added to the library when it's all tested and worked out. But I thought it'd be a pretty cool thing that we could do now. So, and I have some other ideas for this. So I'm an 80s kid, so He-Man, and a few other type of things where you just summon your power and then have it and then use that power back out. There'll be some other kind of building upon this effect, but coming soon to the library, so you guys get to see it first. Once I have it all worked out, I'll obviously do the announcements, but that's coming. Let me get my light back on. So at least that worked, because I was really afraid I was going to have a problem with that one. All right. Cool. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Brian and Space and Justin. So yeah, as soon as I have that finished up, I'll get that added to the library. It's going to be, essentially what I'm going to do is expand on the stab. and this will be one option for stab. I have several others, and I haven't gotten them quite where I want them. So, but the idea being, particularly from my point of view, stab as a gesture is great. Stab as an effect, I don't use it. I use melt, but I don't use stab. So stab as an effect is almost like an open effect to me. And because it's a gesture control, there's a lot in my head that I'm going to try to get into the library. But Thor was the first one. And as I was explaining, I'm hoping you guys heard me. That's the other piece. I was kind of far from the camera. But what it is it's basically a two-level effect. When the blade is up and you stab, I was pulling it down just because that's the reaction, just because try to keep it on camera. But if you stab up fast and stop, it pulls the lightning down. And then when you get the blade level or down and you do the exact same motion, it actually reverses the effect, so that instead of the lightning coming from the tip in, having the blade angle, because it's using blade angle as the value, it'll actually turn it into a shooting out. So the idea is you put your blade up, summon your lightning, and then aim it at your opponent type of thing. And I've got a few other ideas, like I said, He-Man being one of them, but a few other ones that I want to kind of take that concept and apply it to. That's coming soon. Yeah, Thundercats is another one. Yeah, actually, so Space, a long time ago, when we first did color change, somebody had the hilt for the actual Thundercats hilt, and they asked, and there was actually, I had built out an effect for them where every swing made the blade progressively longer. So it was a 3 swing. So your first swing would be a third of the blade. Second swing would be 2/3 of the blade, and then your third swing would actually be the full blade. It used some of the controls that are only in the color change fork, so it didn't come over clean to the main OS, but something else we could, you'd have to play with it. I'd probably need a new unique control to make it happen, but actually that was a long time ago, but I put that one together. Yeah, I didn't know that the hilt is Ultra Sabers. I know I'd seen it somewhere, but somebody had asked for it. They had put a Proffieboard in it, and I had created that for them. And it worked, at the time it was working using a modified prop file and a few other unique controls. It's not something you could just drop in right away. There was actually some customization related to it, but that was something else. But the idea is, let's see, problem melt and drag is LED counter. Melt and drag. There is the length finder. So again, trying to keep track of your guys' chats. The Che and so I apologize again if I'm mispronouncing. There's a length finder style you can put into your blade, and if you look on TRA, I think it's also probably on open source. But if you look on TRA, there. Hey Space, thanks for joining, man. I appreciate it, and I hope to have you on in the future if this is successful. As long as I stop burning stuff. Thanks again. But there's a length finder style that'll actually let you find your full LED count, and it works using. You have to put it in as a preset, but once you put it in and you go to that preset, as you turn your hilt, it will actually tell you. So you watch the hilt light up, and then when you get to the tip, it's going to tell you what that length is, and then you can put that into your config. So that already kind of exists. It's not dynamic, but that exists already in the OS. Yeah, detecting the blade length like without any input, that's going to be outside of my realm of expertise. But the length finder would probably be the easiest way that I know of that exists right now. You could. TRA definitely has it. I'm sure there's posts about it on the open source group. Just do a search for that, or just ask the question. I know several users have used it already. So if you just post that as a question in open source, I'm sure somebody will get it to you. But I forget the exact syntax on it. But the length finder is what you're looking for. So yeah, there it is. Brian's got it. I knew somebody's been using it. So that's the one. If you see in the chat, the length finder. That's what you want to find your LED count. So particularly if your blade is made by somebody else, or you buy a blade and you're not exactly sure of the LED, if your config has the LED count at the bottom telling the OS how long your blade is too large, or well, if it's too small, your blade's not going to ignite fully. But if it's too large, so say you actually have 130 pixels but your config says 144, particularly melt and drag, because they are only on the tip, they won't ever show. So the easiest way is to actually know the length. If you don't know the length, then that length finder style would give it to you. And once you know it and you have it in your config, you don't need to deal with it again, unless you buy another new blade, etc. But that one works really well from what I've seen. So I build my blades, so I'm meticulous about making sure all my blades are actually the same length, just so I can interchange them. But that would be how you would handle that. Let's see. I think I kept up with these. I'm just going to roll back to make sure I didn't leave anybody out in the cold. Yeah, Justin, that's what I try to impress upon everybody, is that there's no limits on what Proffi can do, and the no limits actually is even more now than it feels like. Every week there's something else that comes up. I try to play in the OS, and there's still stuff I'm learning that I'm like, let me see if this works, and it works, and I'm like, holy crap. So there's definitely just unlimited potential, and it's really, people going in and playing with stuff. And then that's, again, I say a lot, but the library, if you go in the library, if you like something but it's not perfect, go in and play with the styles and tweak them. I've tried to make it so that they're good start points, but they are not at all that's possible. There's so much more you could do about it. Let's see. Saber goes into other customer, different blade length. Let's see. Oh, okay, you use length finder. If the Saber goes to other customers, what if I use? So you probably want you can use the blade, the ID for you can use. I haven't used it because I only have like one type of blade. But they're with the resistors. I'm forgetting the name. I'm sure somebody in the chat will know the name. But you can actually have it so that you have different configs for different blade lengths. And there's just a resistor you put in that tells the OS which one to use. So that would probably be even easier for you. But yeah, I mean, with all that's possible, I don't know how you would do it dynamically, but that doesn't mean anything, because if you ask Frederick, he probably already has an idea. So any ideas like that, just post them up TRA in Professor Zorn's lab, and because there's actually already people asking for new stuff for OS 5, and if you post your ideas or just questions or just certain things like that, Frederick is definitely the man for that type of stuff. I'm pretty good with the styles. That's and it's more just trial and error. I've done a little bit of messing with the OS for some of these new features. A lot of times when I do come up with an idea, I'll bounce it off of Frederick, and then he'll kind of give me, sometimes he just flat out gives me what code I need, because he off the top of his head, he already knows how you would do something. Other times he gives me kind of a little nudge in a direction. I'll go play with stuff, and I'll mess with it, and I'll get it hopefully shaped up to a point where it looks like I want, and then I'll send it to him. And then my code's kindergarten, so he'll clean it up anyway, but he knows what I was getting after, and he'll fix it and put it in. But the actual OS code, Frederick is the man to do that. The styles, I've got a pretty good grasp on, but again, that's using stuff that he's already created. So if you want to ask about dynamic blade, like a dynamic length finder, other than that, the resistor approach, maybe post up on TRA and just see if, who knows, maybe it is possible. Let's see. That was it, Blade ID. Yeah, I haven't used that, Brian, but I know it's there. Yeah, you can do, so, and Brian in the chat is, I know a lot of people use it. It's essentially, I'm going from the manual. If you have different resistor values on the different blades, you can actually set it so that the config, the blade config changes based on that actual resistor value. And it's explained in the manual pretty well. And then again, if it's something that you're having trouble with, the open source group, guys like Brian will chime in, and or TRA, Frederick, or others. Brian's on that as well, help out. And that's with everything. That's not just with specific things. A lot of times, if there's something you want to do and you're not sure how to do it, or if there's just an idea you have, post it up on the open source group, post it in TRA, If you really want Frederick to see it, TRA is more. I know Frederick goes in to Facebook occasionally, but he definitely prefers TRA, and he also doesn't answer private messages on Facebook. So if you want Frederick, go TRA. That he's really quick about replying. If you just want kind of the general knowledge of everybody, the open source group is great for that. And there's always guys answering stuff. Sometimes I'll get in at the end of the day and I'll see that there's several questions that everybody's already jumped on and answered. Just because that's what makes the group so great, is everybody's kind of helping each other out. So yeah, if you need more info on Blade ID, obviously Brian's used it, but open source group or TRA would be a good start point. And then the manual, I know it's in the manual. So, well, we're at the 10 o'clock hour. So if anybody has any future questions, I'll save them for the next time. I'm not going to have like a regularly scheduled thing. I'd like to try to do this weekly. But both my schedule, my wife's schedule, and then my kids won't always align with that. And barring the failure of my demo that was working perfectly, and then I shifted it, and I obviously shorted something, I'm going to try to save it. I hope I covered a lot of stuff. Hopefully this helped some people, and appreciate everybody who joined in. So I will see you guys in the future. I will see, I'm not sure next week yet, but if I'll definitely, if you're already subscribed, I'll keep notes up, and I post this on Facebook when I come up with it. So I got to look at next week's schedule and see what I've got to show, and then also if it's something I can squeeze in. But thanks everybody for joining. This wasn't as painful as I thought it'd be, which is good. A little bit of growing pains, but that comes with anything new. So appreciate everybody, and I'll talk to you all soon. And the new style will be, I'll announce that separately, but you guys got that preview for that, the new the summon and release. So you guys got to get the preview of that. It's not ready yet. There'll be a completely separate video, separate announcement once I do have it running perfectly. So it's working okay, but I like to fine tune everything. But you guys got to see stuff, got to see that before anybody else. So thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to everyone soon. Thanks, everyone.